bustling international airport lounge where glitzy chandeliers shine on polished floors, where affluent travelers sip champagne without a care in the world. Suddenly, a graceful black woman, Maya, steps forward with confidence, only to be met with cold stares and hushed whispers. The staff curtly informs her she can't enter no matter how politely she insists. She has every right. The tension in the air is electric. Little do they know who her husband is, a revelation that will shake the entire lounge to its core. What unfolds next is a roller coaster of drama, injustice, and ultimate redemption you won't believe. Maya Johnson was born and raised in the vibrant Bronzeville neighborhood of Chicago. Her upbringing was shaped by old jazz clubs and local art galleries where her father, Thomas Johnson, ran a community theater. Maya's mother, Iris, was a devoted schoolteacher, guiding Maya to value education as a key to breaking down barriers. As a child, Maya spent countless hours backstage, watching her father's actors rehearse lines brimming with drama and truth. This early exposure to the performing arts instilled in Maya a deep sense of empathy and a knack for reading people's intentions. By the age of 10, Maya had traveled across the Midwest, following her father on tours for theater festivals. She'd always been taught that the world could be a stage if you were willing to stand in the spotlight and speak your truth. But she was also taught that not everyone was ready to hear it, especially if you looked different from what they expected. In Maya's case, being a black young woman from the south side of Chicago meant constantly having to prove herself in spaces where few people looked like her. Despite the occasional setbacks, Maya thrived academically, earning a full scholarship to Howard University, a name steeped in African-American excellence and pride. During her college years, Maya volunteered in community outreach programs and participated in multicultural seminars. She also met the love of her life, Donovan Parker, at a student leadership conference. A brilliant mind with an unassuming demeanor, Donovan swept Maya off her feet. They shared a passion for justice and equality, spending long nights discussing how they could make a difference in the world. After graduation, Maya secured a position with a marketing firm in New York City. Donovan, meanwhile, soared in the corporate realm. He was recruited by a top consultancy, quickly rising through the ranks thanks to his innovative strategies and natural leadership. Although Maya always had a strong sense that Donovan was destined for something big, she never fully realized just how remarkable his path would become. Their love story, intertwined with big city ambition and cultural pride, positioned Maya and Donovan as the sort of couple that turned heads. Yet Maya remained humble, grounded by her parents' teachings and her own experiences of discrimination. She had grown comfortable in her own skin, carrying herself with a poise that radiated both warmth and quiet confidence. On a brisk October morning, Maya found herself hurrying through the crowds at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, one of the busiest airports in the world. She was there for a connecting flight to New York, where she would meet Donovan for a special event, the unveiling of a charitable initiative aimed at supporting minority-owned businesses. The plan was for Maya to board a Delta Airlines flight to LaGuardia, where Donovan would be waiting. He had been in New York for several days, busy finalizing the details of this high-profile charity launch. Having wrapped up a successful marketing conference in Dallas, Maya had flown into Atlanta for the sole purpose of making this connecting flight. As she walked through Terminal A, her gaze fell upon the glistening sign for the Delta Sky Club Lounge, one of the airline's premier sex lounges. Donovan had surprised her with an upgraded membership a few months earlier, something Maya never took for granted. While Donovan was used to VIP treatment, thanks to his skyrocketing career, Maya still found it a little surreal. She always remembered the days when budget flights were the norm, a necessity rather than a choice. Weaving through the crowds, Maya felt a sense of relief wash over her. She'd made it with enough time to relax in the lounge before her next flight. Despite the chaos in the airport, she reminded herself that the lounge was her oasis, a place where she could check emails, sip a cappuccino, and gather her thoughts before the big event in New York. She was excited to see Donovan, to stand beside him as he announced a program that could transform countless lives. The last thing on her mind was the possibility of being denied entry. But Maya was no stranger to being second-guessed by suspicious gatekeepers. Whether it was at fancy hotels, upscale restaurants, or corporate networking events, some people never expected a well-dressed black woman to walk in with full confidence. Maya always tried to keep her composure. If she let anger rule her, she'd be playing right into their prejudice. Instead, she leaned on her father's timeless lesson, "You prove them wrong by being undeniable." With her heart light and her pace steady, Maya approached the Delta Sky Club's elegant entrance. Modern glass doors revealed a sleek interior dotted with plush chairs and tranquil lighting. Soft music, a subtle jazz track, played in the background, making Maya smile briefly as it reminded her of her father's theater days. She pulled out her membership card, already anticipating the sense of calm she'd find beyond those doors. She walked up to the reception desk. A lounge attendant named Shelley, her name tag pinned neatly on her crisp uniform, greeted Maya with a polite smile. "Good morning, ma'am. May I see your ticket and membership, please?" Maya handed over both with confidence. "Here you go," she said gently, adding, "I'm on the 3:15 flight to New York." Shelley scanned the membership card, then the boarding pass. Almost instantly her posture stiffened. She looked from the card to Maya and back again, an uncertain flicker in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Miss Johnson," she began, "but there seems to be an issue with this membership. I can't allow you inside at this time." Stunned, Maya blinked. "An issue? I just used the same membership last month in Dallas," she said. Could there be a mistake? A second attendant, Russell, overheard the conversation and came over. "What seems to be the problem?" he inquired. Shelley shrugged, pointing at the screen. Maya tried to maintain her composure, noticing subtle glances from a few bystanders waiting for lounge access. She braced herself for what she suspected might be coming, a humiliating confrontation. "I can assure you this membership is valid," Maya insisted, her voice even. "My husband upgraded me to the Diamond Medallion tier, which includes lounge access. Could you possibly check again?" Russell typed furiously on the computer, frowning. "I'm not seeing the upgrade in our system." Maya felt her cheeks heat. She was sure Donovan had completed all the necessary steps. He'd even forwarded her an email confirmation. Before she could present it, however, Russell handed back her card. "I'm going to ask you to step aside, ma'am. We have other guests waiting," he said firmly. Something about his tone made Maya's stomach knot. She swallowed, her instincts telling her that this was more than a simple clerical error. Maya stepped aside, her dignity already bruised. She could feel curious eyes on her, some sympathetic, others judgmental. She took a breath, determined to handle the situation calmly. Pulling out her phone, she opened her email and found the confirmation from Delta, a clearly stated membership upgrade. She returned to the desk with her phone extended politely toward Russell. "Here's the email from Delta, confirming the membership. Perhaps there's a glitch," Maya said, her tone measured. Russell only glanced at the phone screen briefly. "Emails can be faked," he muttered under his breath. Aloud, he replied more diplomatically, "I apologize, ma'am, but our system is quite definitive." Shelley pursed her lips, her earlier polite smile nowhere to be found. "Maybe you should check at the main Delta customer service counter," she suggested, her tone betraying impatience. "We can't let you in without it showing up in our system." Maya felt a spike of frustration. She'd never faced this sort of stonewalling in such a blatant manner. She knew, from a lifetime of dealing with subtle racial undertones, that sometimes these mistakes were anything but. Another woman, older and white, had just passed through the desk with no trouble at all, despite fumbling with her own membership details. "I don't mind stepping aside," Maya said, forcing a small, polite smile, "but I would appreciate it if you would call the Delta help desk from here. They can confirm the membership over the phone." "It might be quicker." Russell looked at her, clearly reluctant, but nodded. As he picked up the phone, Maya breathed a cautious sigh of relief. This had to get sorted out. She thought about texting Donovan but hesitated. He had so much on his plate. The last thing she wanted to do was ruin his focus on the charitable event. She decided to handle it herself. But as minutes ticked by, Maya sensed the tension building. Russell's conversation on the phone seemed terse. Finally, he hung up and handed Maya a slip of paper with a phone number. "You'll have to call them yourself," he said with finality. A few onlookers raised their eyebrows at the abrupt dismissal. Maya bit her lip, her voice quavering slightly. "Is that really necessary?" "I'm just trying to verify my status," to use the lounge. Russell and Shelley exchanged a brief look. "Ma'am," Shelley started, "we can't help you if our system doesn't confirm your membership. And we have other customers to attend to." Maya could almost taste the disdain in her voice. Just when Maya thought the situation couldn't become more embarrassing, a third employee appeared, a manager named Mr. Gonzalez, judging by the gold Delta nameplate on his suit. He was a tall, middle-aged man with a neatly trimmed beard and a direct stare. Sensing the tension in the area, he approached Maya. "Ma'am, I'm the lounge manager. Is there an issue?" His tone was calm, but his eyes flicked between Maya and Russell. Maya mustered a polite smile. "I am simply trying to access the lounge with my Delta Diamond Medallion membership. The system seems to have an error, but I have my confirmation email." Gonzalez nodded thoughtfully. "Let me see what I can do." He took Maya's membership card and scanned it himself, frowning at the same error code on the computer screen. "Strange," he mumbled. "Sometimes these upgrades take a while to sync." Maya felt a small sense of relief. Finally, someone with reason was acknowledging it might just be a system glitch. But then Gonzalez leaned closer to the screen, shaking his head. "This membership number is flagged for a mismatch. Are you sure this is your card?" Maya almost gaped. "Of course, it's my card. My name is Maya Johnson," she said, pointing to the printed name. "It's attached to my Sky Miles account, which is under the same name." From the corner of her eye, Maya noticed Russell smirking, as though vindicated. She ignored him, turning her attention to the manager. Gonzalez sighed. "Well, Miss Johnson, I can escalate this to corporate, but that might take a while. Honestly, I would suggest you head to Delta's main help desk. They can clear this up and reissue a valid card. Once you have that, come back here and I'll personally ensure you're admitted." Maya nodded, trying to remain calm. She glanced at her watch. She still had about an hour before her flight, but going all the way to the main desk could take valuable time. "All right. I'll do that," she said, keeping her composure. "I'd appreciate it if you'd note my name so that when I come back, there are no more issues." "Certainly," Gonzalez replied. "I apologize for the inconvenience." But Russell's eyes narrowed, his lips set in a thin line. Shelley avoided Maya's gaze altogether. Maya walked away, her footsteps echoing on the polished floor, a swirl of indignation and embarrassment churning inside her. She could practically feel the eyes of curious travelers drilling into her back as she made her way out of the lounge area. Reaching a quieter section of the terminal, Maya found a row of chairs where she could settle momentarily. She rifled through her purse and retrieved her phone, finally deciding she had no choice but to text Donovan about what was happening. Her fingers hovered over the screen. She typed a quick message. "Hey babe, having some weird lounge issues. They say my membership card is invalid, even though you upgraded it. Any chance you can confirm from your end?" She hesitated before hitting send, imagining Donovan in the middle of final preparations for the big charitable event. Would he have time to deal with this now? Then she considered how unfair it was for her to tackle this all alone when the problem should never have occurred in the first place. She pressed send. Moments later, her phone vibrated. Donovan's voice came through on a call, sounding concerned. "Maya, what's going on? You've never had issues with that card before." "I know," she said, trying to keep her voice from shaking. "They won't let me in. They're insisting that my card doesn't match the system. They're basically accusing me of using a fake membership." Donovan sighed, and Maya could almost picture him pinching the bridge of his nose in frustration. "That's insane. I dealt directly with Delta's corporate customer service to set this up for you. Listen, I'll call them right away and get this sorted. Meanwhile, can you head to the main Delta desk? I'll text you a contact at Delta who helped me. Her name is Regina. She's a supervisor. Maybe she can expedite this." Maya exhaled, relieved. "Thank you. And Donovan?" "Yes." She paused for a beat. "There, treating me like I'm some imposter. I don't know if I'm just overthinking it, but it feels more than a glitch." There was silence on the other end, followed by Donovan's gentle reassurance. "Maya, you know you're not overthinking it. I'll handle it. Just stay calm. Let's get you on that flight, and we'll settle everything once you're in New York." A small, thankful smile curved Maya's lips. "All right. Talk to you soon." Hanging up, she felt a surge of both anger and resolution. Donovan was on the case now, and if there was any corporate meddling or prejudice, he would ferret it out. If only she knew how big of a storm this would become, and how Donovan's position would soon shock everyone. Maya walked briskly through the long corridors, following the overhead signs for the main Delta customer service desk. Anxiety gnawed at her. The clock was ticking, and she could not afford to miss her flight. She rehearsed in her mind what she'd say to the supervisor, Regina, whom Donovan had mentioned. She also reminded herself to stay composed. It never helped to lash out, no matter how justified her anger might be. Eventually, she reached a wide, brightly lit area labeled Delta Customer Assistance. A queue of travelers stretched out in front of half a dozen desks. Maya joined the line, tapping her foot lightly as she scanned her phone for any updates from Donovan. A few minutes passed before she heard a distinctive ring. It was a text from Donovan. "Regina is at desk 4. She knows you're coming. Show her your ID and let her know I just spoke with corporate." Maya breathed a sigh of relief. She maneuvered through the queue, gently explaining she had an appointment with Regina, and reached desk 4. A tall, poised woman in her mid-40s, with a Delta badge, reading Regina W. Supervisor, smiled at her. "You must be Miss Johnson," Regina said, extending her hand in a warm greeting. "Donovan called me. Let me see what I can do." Maya handed over her ID, membership card, and boarding pass. Regina typed swiftly on her keyboard, the screen reflecting off her glasses. She frowned slightly, then typed again. "That's strange," she murmured. "Your diamond medallion upgrade is indeed in the system, but it appears to have been flagged due to an account verification alert." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Account verification alert? Why would that happen?" Regina glanced at Maya, her expression apologetic. "Sometimes, if the system believes there might be fraudulent activity, like someone logging in from multiple locations or changes happening too quickly, it automatically flags an account. However, your situation is definitely unusual. Let's see." She navigated the system a bit more before breaking into a small smile. "It's a simple enough fix. I can override the flag and give you a new digital membership ID that should grant you lounge access immediately." Maya's shoulders sagged in relief. "Thank you so much." With deft efficiency, Regina printed out some documents and handed Maya a brand new membership card. "I've updated everything, so this card should be valid instantly. I'm sorry for all the inconvenience. Please let me know if you have any more trouble." Maya expressed her gratitude, feeling her spirits lift. She still had about 30 minutes before her flight, just enough time to get back to the lounge if she decided she wanted to return at all. But a part of her was determined to prove that she belonged there, no matter what Russell or Shelley thought. Maya took the escalator back to the Delta Sky Club lounge, holding her new membership card with a renewed sense of confidence. She glanced at the clock. If everything went smoothly, she could spare 10 minutes for a quick coffee or a glass of water. Mostly, she wanted to walk back in with her head high, proving that no arbitrary system error or hidden bias could keep her out. She approached the lounge entrance again. This time, Shelley and Russell were both there, but Mr. Gonzalez was nowhere in sight. Shelley spotted Maya instantly, and her face tightened. Maya stepped up to the desk, presenting the fresh membership card and boarding pass. Shelley scanned the new card, frowning as though expecting it to fail. To her apparent surprise, the system beeped a green light. She looked at the screen, then back at Maya. "It's valid," she said flatly, without a hint of apology. Russell gave a barely perceptible eye roll, stepping aside to let Maya pass. "Enjoy your stay," he muttered sarcastically. Maya felt a blaze of anger rise in her chest. She thought about asking for an apology or demanding to see the manager again. But she could sense the tension in the line forming behind her. Dragging out a confrontation would only intensify the situation. Instead, Maya forced a polite nod and walked in with as much composure as she could muster. The lounge was just as she remembered from her last trip, elegant, hushed, and filled with the soft rustle of newspapers and the clinking of cups against saucers. Most of the travelers there paid her no heed, too absorbed in their phones or laptops. Maya found a seat by the window, overlooking the planes lined up on the tarmac. She texted Donovan a quick update. "Got the new card. I'm in the lounge. Thanks for the help. Boarding soon." She grabbed a bottled water from the self-serve bar. As she took a seat, she could feel the emotional strain of the past hour wash over her. All this just to sit here for a few minutes. The entire ordeal felt like a stark reminder of how, sometimes, people in positions of minor power would rather flex their authority than help. Maya knew deep down that if Donovan had the time, he'd be furious on her behalf. Yet Maya also felt a small triumph. She was where she belonged, fair and square. She took a long sip of water, steeling herself for the flight ahead and the important event waiting in New York. Little did she know that her story was about to escalate far beyond a single lounge incident, especially once her husband's identity became crystal clear to those who had wronged her. It was finally time to board. Maya exited the lounge, heading to Gate B27, where the flight to LaGuardia was already in its final call. She hurried, heart pounding at the prospect of missing her flight after all that had happened. Fortunately, she arrived just as they were allowing the last group of passengers onto the plane. Stepping through the jet bridge, Maya felt a wave of relief. In a few hours, she would be landing in New York, reunited with Donovan. Once there, she could leave the fiasco of the lounge behind. The flight attendants greeted her at the entrance, scanning her boarding pass without incident. She made her way to seat 3. Donovan had booked her in first class, a subtle reflection of his success and desire to make her travel comfortable. As she settled into the plush seat, Maya caught a glimpse of Mr. Gonzalez stepping onto the plane, quietly conversing with a flight attendant. A jolt of surprise ran through her. Was he just finishing his shift and heading home, or was there more to this? His eyes landed on her momentarily, and Maya gave a polite nod. "Mr. Gonzalez offered a slight, respectful smile in return before moving further down the aisle. Maya tried not to overthink it. She focused on stowing her carry-on and preparing for takeoff. Once the cabin doors closed, a flight attendant named Rebecca came by to offer pre-flight drinks. Maya asked for a glass of water, determined to stay hydrated after the stressful morning. Rebecca returned shortly, along with a small dish of warm nuts, a standard first-class amenity on Delta. "Let me know if you need anything, Miss Johnson," Rebecca said, her voice kind. Maya thanked her, smiling softly. It was nice to be treated with respect for a change, and she felt a twinge of gratitude toward the universe for this moment of reprieve. Within minutes, the aircraft taxied out to the runway. Maya stared out the window, watching the ground crew guide the plane. As the engines roared and the plane lifted into the sky, she closed her eyes, exhaling slowly. The tension in her neck and shoulders eased away, replaced by anticipation for the event in New York and the moment she'd see Donovan. Little did she suspect that this flight, short as it might be, would become a pressure cooker of drama that would soon simmer over, especially when the lounge incident came back to haunt her mid-flight. About 30 minutes into the flight, Maya was halfway through reading an article on her tablet about the charity event Donovan was spearheading. The piece highlighted how large corporations were pledging millions to create incubators for small businesses owned by underrepresented minorities. Donovan's name was mentioned as the visionary behind the project. Maya felt a swell of pride. If only people knew how tirelessly he had worked for this. Abruptly, she noticed some commotion a few rows ahead. A passenger in seat 1B was raising his voice at a flight attendant. "I don't care if you're out of the salmon option," he barked. "I paid for first class, and I expect the meal I requested." The flight attendant, voice trembling, apologized repeatedly. Maya felt a pang of sympathy for the crew. She'd seen too many travelers treat service workers like personal servants. She tried to return to her reading, but the man's voice carried through the cabin. "Unbelievable," he muttered loud enough for several passengers to hear. "They'll let just anyone in first class these days." Maya stiffened at his tone, though it wasn't directed at her specifically yet. It held the same ugly condescension she had faced in the lounge. As if on cue, the overhead speaker chimed. The pilot's voice came through, announcing a brief period of turbulence ahead. Maya secured her seatbelt, scanning the cabin. She spotted Mr. Gonzalez seated about 5 rows behind her in economy, which struck her as odd for a lounge manager. Perhaps he was on a personal trip. Regardless, Maya hoped their earlier tension wouldn't boil over in mid-flight. Soon, a flight attendant glided by, collecting trash. She shot Maya a friendly smile, then approached seat 1B to pacify the disgruntled passenger. The conversation escalated again, but Maya couldn't make out the words. She sensed hostility in the man's tone, words laced with entitlement. Maya tried to block it out, focusing instead on her own calm breathing. It was only when the seatbelt sign pinged off and the flight attendant started the beverage service again that Maya noticed Mr. Gonzalez making his way toward the front of the cabin. He stopped by seat 1B, engaged in a hushed conversation. The passenger in 1B gestured angrily, pointing toward Maya's direction. Maya frowned, unsure why she was suddenly part of the discussion. The hush that fell over the first-class cabin was deafening as Mr. Gonzalez walked up to Maya. A flight attendant stood nearby, her eyes flicking nervously between Maya and Gonzalez. "Miss Johnson," he began softly, "may I speak with you for a moment?" Maya put down her tablet, her heart tightening. "Of course," she replied, keeping her voice steady. Gonzalez crouched slightly to speak at eye level. "There has been a complaint," he said, nodding subtly toward the passenger in seat 1B. "He claims that you were the individual who caused a disturbance at the lounge earlier," and Maya's eyes widened in disbelief. "A disturbance? You know that's not true," she whispered urgently. "I was just trying to verify my membership." Mr. Gonzalez exhaled. "Look, I know, but for some reason he's alleging that you verbally harassed staff," and Gonzalez hesitated. "He also insists you're not who you claim to be." A jolt of shock coursed through Maya. The nerve of that passenger to drag her into his meltdown over a meal. "You were there, Mr. Gonzalez," Maya said, trying to keep her composure. "You saw what happened. I never raised my voice or caused a scene." Gonzalez nodded, appearing somewhat conflicted. "That's true. I can confirm that. But the passenger is demanding that the airline take action. He's claiming he witnessed you forging membership credentials." Maya felt her cheeks burn. This was absurd. "Are you serious?" "Regina at the main desk cleared my status. I have a brand new card valid and confirmed." "I understand," Gonzalez replied quietly. "But the man is quite insistent. He threatened to file a formal complaint with Delta's corporate office. And seeing as I'm traveling on this flight in a partial official capacity, I felt I had to let you know." Maya peered around Gonzalez, locking eyes with the passenger in 1B for a moment. He glared back with an air of superiority. Maya's stomach churned. It was like dealing with Russell at the lounge all over again, but this time at 3500 feet, with fewer ways to walk away from the situation. Mr. Gonzalez straightened up. "Let me handle this," he said quietly. "I'll speak to him, let him know he's mistaken, but be aware that there might be an incident report." Maya clenched her jaw, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I appreciate that," she managed. "If Delta needs any statement from me, I'll cooperate fully." About 20 minutes later, the cabin lights dimmed slightly for the mid-flight rest period. Maya tried to focus on a movie playing on the seat back screen, but her mind kept wandering to the looming confrontation. She found herself constantly peering towards seat 1B, where the irate passenger had gone quiet. Perhaps Mr. Gonzalez had managed to calm him down. As she sipped on a fresh cup of herbal tea, her phone buzzed with an incoming text, one she wouldn't normally receive mid-flight. Realizing she was connected to the airplane's Wi-Fi, Maya checked the message. It was from Donovan, just finished to call W Delta XX the lounge incident. "They're furious at how you were treated. They want me to follow up. Are you okay?" Maya's chest tightened. Donovan must have raised the issue at the highest levels. He had connections she still couldn't fully grasp. She typed back a quick response. "On the plane. But yes, I'm okay." More drama from a passenger. "We'll explain soon." Another text arrived almost instantly. "Don't stress. I told them that Maya Johnson is the wife of Donovan Parker, exec VP. They're investigating. More soon. Love you." Maya paused, her heart skipping a beat. Donovan Parker, executive vice president. The words carried more weight than she was used to. He had recently been promoted to Executive Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for a major consulting firm that was contracted by Delta and several Fortune 500 companies. It was a powerful role, one that gave him direct lines of communication with top-tier executives in multiple industries. Suddenly, Maya realized that Russell, Shelley, or even Mr. Gonzalez might have no clue they'd just humiliated the wife of someone with serious sway in the airline's upper echelons. She felt a surge of vindication mingle with her lingering frustration. The truth was out now. If Donovan had told Delta's executives, it was only a matter of time before the repercussions trickled down. She allowed herself a small, triumphant smile, not because she craved revenge, but because justice was finally within reach. She glanced again at seat 1B. The passenger was scribbling something in a notebook, occasionally shooting Maya a glare. Maya returned her gaze to the movie screen, her mind churning with what might happen once the flight landed. If Delta truly was furious, Maya suspected there would be more than a simple apology waiting in New York. The flight touched down at LaGuardia Airport on schedule. Maya felt her ears pop as the plane taxied to the gate, the sense of relief in the cabin almost palpable. People unbuckled seatbelts, gathered overhead luggage, and prepared to disembark. Maya stayed seated for a moment, letting the rush pass. She was in no hurry to run into the furious passenger in seat 1B or any residual drama that might await her. However, the moment the seatbelt sign turned off, the man in 1B shot up, grabbed his carry-on, and stormed toward Maya. Mr. Gonzalez quickly intervened, positioning himself between them. "Sir, please calm down," he said firmly. The man glowered at Maya over Gonzalez's shoulder. "You think you can just waltz into first class, forging your credentials, lying about who you are?" He spat, his voice low but dripping with hostility. A few nearby passengers turned, alarmed. Maya stood, leveling a calm gaze at him. "You are mistaken, sir," she said, measuring each word carefully. "I have done nothing wrong. My membership was confirmed by Delta's corporate office." Gonzalez placed a hand on the passenger's shoulder. "Let it go. We have your complaint on file. We will investigate thoroughly." The passenger shook off Gonzalez's hand, glaring one last time at Maya before turning and marching off the plane. Feeling her hands tremble, Maya took a steadying breath. She thanked Gonzalez for intervening and began to collect her belongings. Gonzalez cleared his throat, appearing uneasy. "Miss Johnson, I'm truly sorry about all of this." Maya looked at him, conflicted emotions swirling inside. Before she could reply, a flight attendant approached, handing Maya a note. "Ma'am, a gentleman outside the gate asked me to give this to you. He said his name is Mr. Carter from Delta's corporate team." Maya opened the note, reading the hastily scribbled message. "We're aware of the situation. Please proceed to the arrivals lounge. A private car is waiting. We'll address this matter immediately." With a slight nod, Maya thanked the flight attendant and turned back to Gonzalez. "I appreciate your help, Mr. Gonzalez. I'd just like to move on from this." He gave a small bow of his head. "I understand. I hope we can find a way to make it right." Maya slid past him into the aisle. Despite her composure, her heart thudded with anticipation. She had never received such direct communication from an airline's corporate team. Clearly, Donovan's connections had mobilized a swift response. For the first time, Maya felt a sense of genuine empowerment. She stepped off the plane and into the bustling gate area, bracing herself for what awaited outside. The airport terminal buzzed with the usual energy, passengers rushing to baggage claim, families reuniting with warm hugs. Maya spotted a polished gentleman in a sleek suit, holding a sign that read Maya Johnson. He gave her a courteous nod. "Miss Johnson, I'm Mark Carter from Delta Corporate Affairs. Please come with me." He led her through a VIP corridor, bypassing the crowds. Maya's mind whirled with possibilities. At the end of the hallway, she was ushered into a comfortable lounge area, much smaller and more private than the usual club. Donovan stood up the moment she entered, his worried eyes scanning her face. She rushed into his arms. "I'm so sorry," Donovan murmured, kissing her temple. "I've been on calls all afternoon trying to straighten this out." Maya clung to him for a moment, feeling the stress of the day unwind. "It's not your fault. It's just been a lot." Mark Carter cleared his throat gently, drawing their attention. "I'd like to formally apologize on behalf of Delta Airlines for the way you were treated in Atlanta and on the flight," he said, his voice sincere. "We've already spoken with the lounge staff in Atlanta, as well as Mr. Gonzalez. Internal investigations are ongoing, and disciplinary actions will be taken if appropriate." Maya exhaled, recalling Russell's sneer, Shelley's dismissive tone, and that passenger's hateful glare. "Thank you. I just want to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." Donovan nodded, stepping forward. "Maya is my wife, but even if she weren't, no customer should experience such discrimination. I'm particularly disappointed that after all the philanthropic partnerships we've been crafting with Delta, these incidents still occur." Carter's features tensed. "We are fully committed to diversity and inclusion, Mr. Parker. You have my word that we'll make this right. We've arranged a private car to take you both to your hotel. Additionally, Delta will issue a formal public apology if you wish to go that route." Maya glanced at Donovan. She had no desire to be in the spotlight for this, but she also wanted accountability. "I'd prefer to keep this low-key," she said carefully, "but I do want your staff educated on proper protocols. If the system flagged my membership, that's one thing, but the staff's attitude was something else." Carter nodded fervently. "Understood, Miss Johnson. We're prepared to train or retrain any employees who contributed to this incident." With that, Maya let out a long breath, feeling a semblance of closure. Yet in the back of her mind, she couldn't help thinking about how quickly the airline responded only after realizing who her husband was. For many others, without such connections, such a resolution might never come. She silently vowed to advocate for them too. A few days passed. Maya and Donovan successfully launched the charitable initiative in New York, garnering praise from community leaders and business stakeholders alike. In the aftermath, Maya tried to put the lounge incident behind her, focusing on the positive momentum of the new program. However, news travels fast in corporate circles. Donovan received a discreet memo from Delta's executive leadership, revealing some key points of the internal investigation. According to the memo, multiple complaints had been lodged against Russell for prior discriminatory behavior. Shelley, too, had been flagged for rude treatment of passengers on more than one occasion. Mr. Gonzalez, though seemingly more neutral, had apparently not reported these incidents up the chain as he should have. The passenger from seat 1B, identified as Gerald Wallace, turned out to be a minor shareholder who had been trying to strong-arm staff into special treatment for years. Delta had received numerous grievances from flight attendants about his verbally abusive behavior. This time, his meltdown aimed at Maya had been the final straw. He was served with a formal warning of restricted travel privileges if such behavior continued. For an entitled man like Wallace, such a warning would sting deeply. Meanwhile, Maya watched from the sidelines, feeling a mixture of relief and sorrow. She hated that people lost jobs or faced disciplinary measures, but also recognized that accountability was necessary to create a better environment for everyone. Donovan assured her that Delta's swift action wasn't just a face-saving measure. They were genuinely concerned about the brand damage that comes from a reputation for bias or intolerance. In private, Maya received heartfelt letters from both Russell and Shelley, who claimed they never intended to discriminate but were under intense pressure to weed out fraudulent memberships. Their apologies sounded partly sincere, partly driven by fear for their jobs. Maya's father had always taught her about the power of forgiveness. While she accepted their apologies, she also made it clear that such behavior must never happen again. Within days, Maya and Donovan noticed a subtle ripple effect online. Posts on social media from other travelers highlighted changes in Delta's lounge policies. An emphasis on better customer service training and an easier verification system to prevent mistaken rejections. Although Maya's name was never mentioned, she felt a small sense of victory on behalf of all who had been similarly mistreated. About 2 weeks later, Maya and Donovan were invited to a Delta press conference in Atlanta. The event was billed as a new chapter in customer relations, where Delta would unveil improved training protocols and a more user-friendly membership verification system. Initially, Maya was hesitant to go. She didn't want to relive the humiliation. But Donovan encouraged her. "This is a chance to see real change," he said, "and you might inspire others with your story." So, Maya agreed. On the day of the press conference, they arrived at Delta's corporate headquarters, a sleek building with glass walls that reflected the city skyline. They were greeted by Mark Carter, who had organized the event. He led them to a small green room stocked with water and fruit, asking Maya if she'd be willing to say a few words on camera about her experience. Surprised by the request, Maya was initially reluctant, but then she remembered all those individuals who faced discrimination without any recourse. If her story could serve as a catalyst for better treatment, perhaps it was worth stepping outside her comfort zone. She nodded, smiling softly. "I'll do it." The press conference commenced in a spacious hall, with rows of journalists scribbling in notepads or tapping at laptops. Cameras flashed as Delta's CEO, Ed Bastian, here comes a real name for authenticity, stepped up to the podium, speaking about the airline's renewed commitment to customer service excellence. He highlighted the new training modules, referencing a recent incident that had illuminated gaps in the system. After Bastian's address, Carter invited Maya and Donovan onto the stage. Maya's heart pounded as she faced the sea of curious eyes. With a microphone in hand, she spoke candidly about her ordeal in the lounge, the support she received from Donovan, and how swiftly corporate had acted once they knew the full story. She avoided naming specific employees, choosing instead to focus on the broader lessons of empathy, fairness, and accountability. When she finished, the audience applauded. Donovan beamed with pride, gently squeezing her hand. Ed Bastian thanked them both, announcing a partnership with their newly formed charitable organization. Delta would sponsor free business-class flights for selected minority entrepreneurs each quarter, connecting them to global conferences and potential investors. The crowd cheered enthusiastically as Maya and Donovan exchanged a look of astonishment. The airline had turned a moment of shame into an opportunity for real societal impact. That evening, Maya and Donovan returned to their Atlanta hotel suite, mentally and emotionally drained from the press conference. Maya flopped onto the plush sofa, still wearing the elegant navy blue dress she'd worn on stage. She kicked off her heels, exhaling a long, weary breath. Donovan joined her, placing a comforting arm around her shoulders. "You were incredible," he said softly. "It takes bravery to stand up there and share something so personal in front of all those people." Maya rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm just relieved it's over." "Honestly, I didn't expect the press to be so supportive. I was worried people would think I was just another complainer." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "They could see you were genuine. And now, thanks to you, there'll be real changes at Delta that might save others from going through what you did." A gentle silence fell between them as they stared at the city lights beyond the window. The day had been a whirlwind, from Maya's prepared remarks to the unexpected announcement of a new partnership. But Maya felt a sense of closure she hadn't thought possible. She'd taken a painful experience and transformed it into something that would benefit countless other travelers. "I can't believe how far we've come," she mused softly. "From being just a couple of starry-eyed college kids at Howard to all this." Donovan squeezed her shoulder. "Let this be the first of many collaborations. When we pool our resources, my corporate connections, your marketing genius, and both our hearts for social impact, we can make real change." Maya lifted her head, locking eyes with her husband. "You know, I still think about that day in the lounge, the things Russell and Shelley said, and that passenger on the plane. People like them might always exist, but we can change the system so they can't do as much harm." Donovan nodded solemnly. "Yes, we can." They sat there in contented silence, brimming with gratitude for each other and for the chance to spark transformation. In that moment, Maya realized that her father's lessons about standing up for herself weren't merely about survival. They were about using her voice, her presence, to pave the way for others to walk through the door without fear or shame. In the weeks that followed, Maya and Donovan's lives returned to a more regular rhythm, if one could call their fast-paced schedule regular. Maya resumed her projects at the marketing firm, consulting with clients ranging from tech startups to established non-profits. Donovan dove into his role as executive vice president, juggling global partnerships. Yet the lounge incident and subsequent press conference had left an indelible imprint on both their careers. A highlight reel of their speech at the Delta conference circulated on social media, with Maya's calm yet impassioned testimony standing out. Messages poured in from people who thanked her for being a voice against discrimination. Some were from flight attendants who felt empowered to speak out against rude passengers. Others were from passengers of color who had faced similar humiliations in airports. Maya responded to as many messages as she could, urging them to keep sharing their stories and hold companies accountable. Meanwhile, Delta's new training program rolled out nationwide. Employees new and old were required to take part in workshops that emphasized both technical skills like membership verification and softer skills like empathy and unconscious bias awareness. Maya heard through Mark Carter that Russell had been transferred to a different department after completing additional training, while Shelley was put on probation. Mr. Gonzalez, on the other hand, maintained his managerial role in the lounge, but received a formal note in his file for not escalating matters sooner. As for the passenger from seat 1B, Gerald Wallace, he faced public scrutiny when an internal memo regarding his repeated aggressive conduct was leaked online. Though he remained a shareholder, he lost face among his peers, receiving little sympathy for his tirades. Karma, as Maya had quietly hoped, had a way of boomeranging back. One afternoon, Maya was on a conference call with a potential client when Donovan rushed into her home office, eyes bright with excitement. He waited politely for her to finish the call, then spun her around in her chair. "What is it?" she asked, laughing at his playful grin. He held up 2 shiny black airline tickets with gold lettering. Delta's launching their new route to South Africa, and guess who's been invited to fly on the inaugural flight as VIP guests? Maya's eyes widened. "You're kidding." He shook his head, grinning. "After everything that happened, they want us to be part of this historic flight, to demonstrate their commitment to inclusivity and global expansion." Maya felt a warm thrill course through her. This wasn't just about a trip, it was a symbol of how far they'd come, a testament to what can happen when discrimination is confronted head-on. She threw her arms around Donovan, tears of joy pooling in her eyes. Indeed, life had a funny way of weaving together moments of injustice and triumph into a tapestry of hope. A few nights before their scheduled trip to South Africa, Maya found herself unable to sleep. She wandered into the living room, the soft glow of city lights filtering through the curtains, and sank into an armchair. The ghost of that day in Atlanta still lingered in her mind. How she'd been treated so callously, how everything shifted the moment Delta realized she was Donovan's wife. She knew not everyone had a Donovan in their life, someone with substantial corporate weight, who could trigger immediate accountability. For many, the story would have ended with frustration, resignation, or an overlooked complaint. She whispered a silent prayer of thanks for the privilege they'd been granted and vowed to keep using it to help others. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a late-night email from a colleague. The subject line read, "We want your voice." The colleague invited Maya to deliver a keynote at a diversity and inclusion summit, praising how she'd turned a personal ordeal into a broader campaign for fair treatment. Maya turned the phone over in her hand, a grin tugging at her lips. She remembered how, as a child, she watched from behind the curtains of her father's theater, absorbing the power of performance. Now, it seemed, life was asking her to step onto a stage of her own, where her words could shape corporate policies and cultural attitudes. Her mind drifted to those who had wronged her, Russell, Shelley, and that nameless passenger. She thought about how they must feel now caught in the aftermath of their own biases. Maya believed in second chances, but only if people were willing to learn and grow. She hoped that someday they might look back on the incident with regret and a newfound commitment to treating everyone with respect. Karma had indeed struck. Russell and Shelley faced disciplinary actions. That passenger faced public shame, and Maya had emerged stronger. But Maya saw karma not just as punishment, it was also an opportunity. The real question was whether they would seize it to become better people. Smiling to herself, Maya slipped out of the chair and headed back to bed. Tomorrow was another day, another chance to right wrongs in the world, big or small. The day of their flight to South Africa arrived. Maya and Donovan arrived early at the airport, greeted once again by Mark Carter. This time, there was no tension or apprehension, only excitement and a warm sense of welcome. The Delta Psych P team escorted them seamlessly through security, leading them to the newly renovated lounge, complete with fresh decor and a more diverse staff. A few glances turned their way, but Maya no longer felt scrutinized. If anything, she felt embraced by the airline's new approach to inclusivity. A young black lounge attendant smiled widely, greeting them with genuine warmth. Maya noticed a subtle new sign near the entrance: "We believe in welcoming everyone with dignity and respect." Donovan nudged her, nodding in approval. "They're trying," he whispered. Maya nodded, taking a seat by a panoramic window overlooking the runway. She could see the massive airplane that would carry them across oceans to a land they'd both dreamt of visiting. Her heart fluttered with anticipation. Before long, a lounge supervisor approached with a tray of champagne flutes, offering them to Maya and Donovan. "Congratulations on the new partnership, Mr. and Mrs. Parker," she said, referencing the charitable venture. "We're honored to have you both aboard." Maya smiled, thanking her. She glanced at Donovan, the man whose love and support had shielded her through life's turbulence. Together, they clinked glasses, savoring the toast to new horizons. Eventually, they boarded the aircraft, a gleaming wide-body jet decorated with the Delta logo. Their seats in Delta One suite were plush, private, and surprisingly personalized. A note from the flight crew greeted them. "Thank you for flying with us, Maya and Donovan. Here's to new beginnings and a united journey ahead." As the plane soared into the sky, Maya gazed at the receding city below, reflecting on how drastically her journey had transformed since that humiliating moment in Atlanta. She'd not only regained her dignity, but channeled the injustice into something bigger: corporate changes, philanthropic partnerships, and a new voice for inclusivity. In that instant, Maya realized that true karma was more than payback. It was a powerful force that balanced the scales, creating openings for growth and unity. The seatbelt sign dinged off, and Maya turned to Donovan with a peaceful smile. The future stretched out before them like the horizon, filled with endless possibilities, proof that even the darkest experiences can pave the way for the brightest dawns. And there you have it, a tale of trial and triumph, where a determined woman's dignity prevailed over prejudice, and one couple's influence sparked real change in a global corporation. Maya's journey reminds us that no matter how painful the injustice, there's a path to redemption and transformation if we stand strong in our truth. Her courage to confront discrimination head-on led to overdue accountability and, ultimately, a renewed commitment to respect and inclusivity. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring narratives. We want to continue bringing you real-life stories and fictional dramatizations that shine a light on social issues, celebrate personal victories, and encourage you to advocate for fairness in your everyday life. Your support helps us spread these important messages and keep the conversation going, so stay tuned, stay hopeful, and remember that real change starts with each of us.